see this thing pull up and you hear the jingle of the dry clutch. The 100 cubic inch motor barking out of the 2-inch pipes, the open intake, the massive front tire. This can only be one thing. It can only be the Exile Chopper. Others have copied, others have tried, but they've executed it. This thing's badass. You want a badass ride that's not going to get mixed up with all the Harley Davidson twin cams and baggers? Get yourself an Exile. Listen to that. All right, you already know it's a badass ride just by seeing it pull up and the sound. And I mean, no mistake in this thing coming down the road with the open intake and the big straight pipes. It fills the jungle with sound. But it's got a couple of tricks up its sleeve that actually make it a comfortable ride. Take a look at this. This is the same suspension setup that Doug Henry has on his YZ450. Doug, as you know, is a pro rider who's paralyzed. So, I got little ashes on it. He has a shock under his seat. Check it out. It's got like a mountain bike shock underneath the seat. So when you're sitting on it, it looks like a hardtail, but you got 2 inches of suspension travel and a nice cushy black leather seat, which really pays dividends for the long haul. Trust me. A hardtail without a suspension seat is going to be really bad on your back. This one here, you can ride this thing all day long. It has a set of long, I think 18-inch ape hangers on it, which are surprisingly comfortable. And the front forks have about 3 inches of travel. The tires are huge. The front tire is absolutely the most massive Dunlop tire I've ever seen on the front of a motorcycle. It's a 160/90/15. The front rim is a 5-inch wide. Everything on this bike, to me, it's like almost built to industrial standards. Like everything's oversized. The tires, the rims, the size of the spokes. It has a twin piston caliper, dual disc front brakes, which will stop on a dime, heavy duty fork springs, massive triple clamps. The frame is overbuilt, super durable, nothing to wear out, no mushy rubber mounted twin cam rear swing arms or anything like that. It's built like a tractor. It's going to last forever. Look at the rear tire on this thing. Just when you think the front tire is the biggest thing you've ever seen, this is a massive 230/60/15 tire on a huge. The rim's got to be 9 inches across. It's massive, and even the spokes are oversized.
That's bigger than the tires on my M3.
Okay, yeah, it's bigger than the tires on Kenny's car. So it is absolutely massive, and all high quality components. Exile makes everything for these in-house, the fenders, the frames. The engine is a whole nother story. It's a high-performance RevTech engine with big bore cylinders, the open primary. Check out this open primary. This thing is just awesome when the bike's running. We'll do a video on that earlier. When you pull in the clutch, it makes a nice jingling sound. Massive gold chain, oversized sprocket. It's got a Exile rear disc brake, which uses the sprocket as the rotor, which is pretty cool. I'll take it out for a rip. This thing will burn rubber all the way up the street in the first 3 gears. Probably putting down at least 100, somewhere about 100. My seat of the pants dyno tells me this thing's putting down about 100 horsepower, and it's basically brand new. It's got no miles on it. The guy that built it originally, it's a 2-owner bike. The second owner had it more of a display piece in his home, and he had a bagger that was his daily rider. But if you're looking for a bike to take down a Daytona and stand out in the crowd, if you're thinking of buying an Exile and you are sitting on the fence because you're not sure you want to spend 60 grand on a new one, or you don't want to buy the $35,000 used one they have on their channel, you might want to buy this bike. If you buy it, you can buy this bike in kit form. They have about 5 or 6 different models on their website. The basic kits start at $35,000. And I've got in this folder right here, I've got everything, all the documentation. I've got a clear title, bill of sale, registration and a service ticket just came out of our shop. We just rebuilt the clutch master cylinder, changed the transmission and engine oil, and the new spark plugs, put a new battery in it, cleaned and tuned it, and rebuilt the 42 millimeter Mikuni carbon. Mario, our lead Harley guy here, tuned it to perfection. This thing runs beautifully. We put 9 hours of labor into it, plus parts. $1,127 service ticket just came out of the shop. I also have the manufacturer's statement of, I have full provenance on this bike. I have the original manufacturer's statement of origin for the transmission and also for the frame, for the motorcycle frame from Exile Cycles. Come zoom in on this, Junior, if you can. With the VIN number. This bike is called the Street Scene Rigid, okay? That's the model. And it was originally manufactured in June 10th, 2002 by Exile Cycles. So there's the certificate of origin. Here's the statement of origin of a motor vehicle for the bike. And all the paperwork, the shipping paperwork, and it's got a Samson exhaust on it. It's got the gas tank on this thing. Now, they break down the parts cost on this thing. The Samson exhaust was $300. The gas tank was $938. The starter is a Terry competition starter. That was $355 alone. Then you've got a high-performance battery, which we have replaced. The headlight was $247. I'll skip over a lot of it because there's a 3-page part list here. And there's, yeah, probably. And there's $30,000 of receipts here. $30,000. I added them all up, just over 30. I want to point out some of the more expensive items. The suspension seat was $487. Then there's a whole bunch of other receipts here, just pages and pages of component receipts. I added everything up, and it was just under $30,000 with the shipping, the $700 shipping. So it's all here. All this will be included with the purchase of the motorcycle. You'll get the full service history and everything you see here. So the graphics on the bike, it came to us with no graphics at all, and when we posted the pictures, everybody that saw it knew right up, straight off Jump Street, this is an Exile Cycle. Why? Because it has a style unmistakable with any other motorcycle. The massive front wheel, the huge triple clamps, the fat bob tanks, it just makes a statement that many have tried to copy since then. So the transmission, everything on this motorcycle is top shelf, high performance. The motor, the engine, the tranny, the brakes, it's one badass chopper. If you have any questions about it, give us a call. Stay tuned. I've got a little history, lesson, overview, testimony about Exile choppers that I found on the internet that will give you a little history of the owner of the company and the motorcycle. So just a badass ride. Buy it with confidence, knowing you can buy this thing for about half of what the kit would cost you to build a new one, and they haven't really changed them much at all since 2002. This one has been fully depreciated. It's only going up in value now, and it's a chopper you can ride. The wheelbase is right. The rake on the front fork is right. The wheels aren't too big that you can't ride it. You can ride this like a regular motorcycle all day long, but it's absolutely a styling statement that will not be mistaken. The graphics, my girlfriend Christy Steiger, she designed the graphics here. They're vinyl graphics, so if you don't like them, they'll peel right off with a heat gun. If you like them, well then great. If you don't, then you can peel them off, the flames. Some people like flames, some people don't. I think the bike needed something because it was just plain black, so it looks pretty badass. This Exile logo up here, that's from Christie's design right here. The flames on the front fender. It cost us, I think it was $240 to have the graphics printed. Took her about 6 hours to design them, and it took Kyle about 4 hours to put them on. So the graphics package, well, do the math. You know, you've got 10 hours labor plus between design and application and the cost. So that wasn't cheap, and it kind of makes a statement. But they they're vinyl graphics, so they're not going to last forever. They look pretty damn good right now, though. So if there's anything else you want to know about the bike, give us a call. I'm glad to give you a rundown on it. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned. The full history of Exile coming up.
If you're looking for a badass ride, look no further, man. Your ship has come in.
What's up, fellas? If you made it this far in this video, then you're going to want to hear the rest of the story here. This is a story about Russell Mitchell. He's the founder, the designer, the president and the design force behind Exile Cycles. And I probably already said earlier in the video, but I'll say it again. This is one of the few motorcycles that instantly when you see it, you know it's an Exile chopper, even without the graphics that we put on the tank that say Exile chopper. I think out of respect for them, the name of the company should be on there. This is also the only motorcycle I've ever had out of 6,000 motorcycles that wouldn't fit in the wheel chock in my trailer. Why? Because it's got a massive front tire on it, bigger than the rear tire on most motorcycles. And this thing is an absolutely amazing piece of work here. I'm going to read you the story of Russell Mitchell here. So grab yourself a cold one, grab yourself a cigar, and find out why these guys have been a success. And this is why. Russell Mitchell was born in a small farming village in England where he fully expected to live out his life. However, when Russell graduated from the local university as a veterinary surgeon, he was persuaded to take a job in London, and life in the big city really opened his eyes. Kind of reminds me of me a little bit. I spent 20 years in the computer industry. I got a degree in electronics and ended up switching to motorcycles. So he started as a veterinary surgeon. So within months, he was fully immersed in the glam punk scene. A chance meeting at a charity event launched a side career in modeling, and soon after, Russell became the TV vet on the morning news. When a top Los Angeles model agency offered him a contract, he figured that he'd come to the States for a month or two. But like every other Englishman, he never went back. Russell worked in LA for several years as a model and a struggling actor before launching Exile Cycles in the gritty San Fernando Valley way back in 1995. These days, Russell lives in the idyllic Santa Monica Mountains with his 3 beautiful kids. Motorcycles have always, I got 3 kids too, so I think we're kindred souls, me and this guy here. Just haven't met him yet, but I will. Motorcycles have always played a huge part in Russell's life. His first few custom builds were based around, of all things, Lambretta scooters. We talked about that in another video. We did a Lambretta scooter video yesterday, so I think it's kind of like destiny. We had the professor give us a rundown on Lambretta scooters, and they were a big part of Russell's life. In the early 80s, he was a major figure in the thriving English scooter scene, although he describes himself as one of the scooter scum. In 1980, so he's got good self-esteem here. He ain't afraid to pick on himself. In 1983, after a couple of other custom scooters, 20-year-old Russell built the very first Exile, which was based on, of all things, a Lambretta chopper, to beat all others. It had a coffin tank, twisted fork, and a foot shift. And is still held by many to be the most significant scooter of all time. Around this time, Russell took his first 100-mile-per-hour ride on a big bike, and he was immediately done with scooters. At the very next scooter rally, he sold raffle tickets for 50 pence, about $1 each, and on Saturday night, he got on stage, drew a number, and gave Exile 1 to its new owner. A smorgasbord of custom motorcycles followed. Russell's ride, depending on his state of poverty at the time. In 1991, Russell came to the U.S. with $9,000 in his pocket, and the next day spent $8,650 on an 87 Softail. In 94, after appearing in a particularly lucrative Marlboro commercial, Russell decided to build a couple of identical customs. He really went to town with the parts design, learning the required welding and machining skills along the way. A year later, on the bike's first inaugural voyage, he ran into Keith Bandit Ball, the editor of Easy Riders magazine, who asked if he could run a feature on the bike. The ensuing interest in his unique parts persuaded Russell to make motorcycles his career. To an expat in the U.S., the old Exile name seemed both appropriate and ironic. And so, in 1995, Exile Cycles was born. From the outset, Exile has produced the cleanest parts and the toughest bikes with a tasteful, minimalist aesthetic. Exile Cycles was perfectly positioned to take advantage of both the chopper craze and the economic boom occurring around the turn of the century. And with such a brightly colored, instantly recognizable front man, it was no surprise that the production companies came knocking. Russell and his crew starred in more of the Discovery Channel's Great Biker Build-Off shows than any other builder, as well as World Biker Build-Off, Motorcycle Mania 4, and a couple of seasons of Russell's own show called Build or Bust. All this exposure has positioned Russell among the most well-known bike builders in the world, and as such, he has traveled the globe as guest of honor at various bike events. Always outspoken, Russell sums up Exile Cycles rather nicely in his mission statement in the current Exile catalog. I can't believe that it's been 2 decades, this is him, quoting him. I can't believe that it's been 2 decades since I launched Exile Cycles from a garden shed in the mid-90s. Our mission was to expose the American people to clean, tough European styling, whether they liked it or not. Well, it seems a lot of them did like it, and Exile is now a thriving corporation with a rock-solid reputation. We have been a major influence on the custom bike scene, as well as the aftermarket parts industry. Remember, any bikes you saw in the mid-90s with huge tires, fat handlebars, smooth triple trees, this bike right here, guys, drive side brake, 2.5-inch pipes, etc., only ours, only Exiles build bikes like that. Hell, these days, half the models in the Harley-Davidson lineup look like they were designed by Exile. We now offer a very extensive range of parts, including bolt-on parts that transform your Harley, plus complete bike kits starting at $35,000 and built-to-order custom cycles starting at $60,000. And we ship to every corner of the globe. We have not compromised our design ethic one bit. The bikes we build now, the bikes we built then, and the bikes we have yet to build all scream Exile Cycles. These machines are timeless classics, not the flavor of the month. These are hardcore, minimal, tough bikes. If you want a brightly colored, over-chrome bike, call someone else. If you want one that looks like the Batmobile or some other childish theme machine, call a therapist. What the fuck is wrong with you? This guy's a badass. Hopefully Junior can put some pictures in, but I'll show you. Here's a picture of him riding an Exile chopper right here. So this guy's a legend in the industry, right up there with Billy Lane, Orange County Choppers, and Indian Larry, Jesse James. This guy's, he's been on more biker build-offs with these bikes than any of those guys. So on their website, go to their website, excelcycles.com, and check it out. They have bikes, the names of the bikes they have. They've got the Bar Hopper, the Black Bull, which looks like this one right here, the Bullfighter. They have the Bulldozer. They have a Mad Max. They have one bike called Pure Sex, one called the Fat Bloke. They got a Street Fighter and a Rockstar and a few other models. And they also make trikes. So these guys are not only alive and well and survived the crash of the chopper market, but today they're still kicking ass selling parts, making parts, selling complete bike kits. And their bikes, they don't really stock a lot of bikes. They're built to order. But if you go onto their site, they do have 2 bikes in stock. They have one used Street Fighter for $35,000, and they've got a used Harley Dyna for $15,000. So the only used bike, the only bike they have in stock is one used one for $35,000. So hey, it's going to cost you $35,000 to buy a pile of parts and probably a bunch of pain and aggravation putting it together, unless you love doing that, which some people do. And in that case, I say, call Russell and order a kit. Or if you want to buy one, plan on ponying up $60,000 for one custom built. They can change the configuration. You can put drag bars on it. You can put ape hangers. You can put risers on it. You can change it, but the basic design of the bike is all pretty similar. So check them out. A bike that is instantly recognizable like this is, there aren't a lot like, I got a Bourget chopper right there. I don't know if you noticed that one in the background. That's another bike that you can tell their signature is the frame. The bent tubes on the frame. That's the last Bourget chopper we sold at auction, sold for $22,000. This one here is going up for grabs. We'll be doing a video on that one shortly. But today, right now, we're focusing on Exile Cycles and trying to do justice to their story, their bikes, and their Mad Max trikes, the Silver Bullets, and the best of the badass bikes they have. This one right here, I've got a stack of receipts. There's $30,000 tied up in this one, plus a bunch of the people's time that built it, modified it, and customized it. It just came through our shop, got a full recommissioning. By that I mean the brake master cylinder, the clutch master cylinder, all the fluids have been changed. The tank was rinsed out. It's got VP gasoline in here, non-ethanol gasoline on the big fat Bob tank. Everything's been gone through. It's ready to rumble, literally. So I've got an invoice for that. That'll come with it. It's got a new battery in it, brand new battery. It's got new engine oil and new gear oil in the 6-speed transmission. So I think it's a 6-speed, yeah. So anyways, that's about it, folks. If you have any questions about this bike, give us a call, 860-454-7024. This is definitely Kaplan America approved. I wore the hammer of justice, and because I wanted to do this bike justice, and I gave a lot of thought to this video, and thought the best thing to do was to share with you the story of the builder, the designer, and the owner and founder of the company, because there's not a lot of guys left in the industry like this. So if you buy an Exile chopper, you're not buying an orphan. They're still in business. He's still young. I think if I had to guess, I'd say he's about 50 years old. Got a lot of time left, and who knows where he's going to go from here. But this bike is going up in value. This bike's not going down in value. It's almost a classic at this point. It's 18 years old.